So we made the paste earlier, we're going to roll it off. We'll take our packets which are ready, we have them ready in the freezer or just out of the fridge. Just open those up, very light dusting of flour. Place the pastry down. When you're rolling, you roll from the centre out, so it gets a bit more even. You can move it around a little bit, a tiny bit more, but just flicking it over, not dredging it. Okay, so just line it out. You want about 2-3 mil. Roll it off, nice and even. Lift it up again, make sure it is released. Just take your cutter, slightly larger than the mould you're going to use, and just cut out your forms. Try to get as many as you can out. So onto your board. What we're going to do with these very quickly is just chill them slightly so that they've rested, because they need to just relax again. Okay, so we've rested our pastry after rolling and cutting it. So we're just going to lightly grease these rings. So I'll put a little bit on the tray there. I just run my fingers around rather than making it so that the pastry fries. Now lining is very, very important. In order to get so that the tart shell doesn't fall away, because there's a gap underneath, you have to make sure it's at 90 degrees, or 90 degrees. So push it all the way in, lift it back, and then push it right into the edge of the mould, right into the crease, so that it's got no void underneath. You create this line that goes around the mould. Make sure you get this line. You can see there's a line drawn in the pastry, where if you've lifted it up, you can see it's right up to the side of the mould, so it won't slip away. You won't have a slipped tart. Okay, very, very important that. Otherwise, you have these uneven tarts as you're baking. Okay, so our tartlet cases have rested now. We've lined them. We've made sure that they're at 90 degrees alongside the base, or the tray, sorry, and the sides of the rings, so they won't slip. Now we've chilled them slightly. Now what we're going to do is get them ready for the oven for blind baking. You can use various things. Some people use cling film, I do. Some people don't like it. You can use muffin tins. You can use rice as the baking bean, or baking beans. You can buy the little metallic ones from the supermarkets, or you can use flour. Essentially all you do is you double line it. So cut the cling film, fold it in half, cut it in half again, place a piece in the centre so that you've got this extra strength. Now with the rice, you just pour it straight into the centre of the ring, and then you start to push it out. You put lots of rice in so it keeps the form of the tart case itself. It hasn't got a chance to slip, hasn't got a chance to fall down. So you scrunch those up, push them down, just make sure they're pressed down so they haven't got anywhere to go. Yeah. So just take your beans out of the little packets, and then just take off your shell cases. Place your tarts somewhere nice and cool to just rest up. So we're just going to brush these out. Take a nice little brush, dip it into your chocolate, and just literally very, very thin coat. You don't want it to be too thick, because otherwise what happens is you go to cut the pastry and it will shatter because the paste becomes too hard. So you just gently brush in the chocolate just like so. Wipe off the excess from around the edges so you don't see it on the tart, on the finished tart, and then just leave it there to set. We can place in a little bit of the passion and vanilla crème. You don't want too much to start off with, because we've got to put the sponge in and everything else, yeah? So just spiralling in, making sure you get cream all the way to the edges. Nice even layer. So here we just got some pain de jam this time, so light almond sponge or a little dense almond sponge. Then we brush that, we soak that so it doesn't taste just like a dry sponge, with a little bit of orange and passion fruit syrup. Let's give another very small amount of cream just to bring it to the same level as the sponge itself. It doesn't necessarily have to go above the sponge, just so there's not that dip between the sponge and the edge of the tart. So then with the tart cases, just pick them up slightly. Just make sure that's nice and even, clean off any excess. Okay, so have our strawberries. You take your tarts, just start to lay them in. But when you lay them in, don't lay them all in the same way. You're building to ensure that you don't see any of the base or of the cream. As much of the cream is covered as possible. And there's pretty much our covered tart, yeah? So just take a little bit of fresh passion, just feed them over the tarts, not too much. Here then again we have our glaze. So you just dab it on, it's just to seal what's there. So we're going to go to finishing our tarts. A little bit of garnish, nothing too major here now. I'm going to use a couple of petals. So here you have our strawberry and passion fruit tartlets, a light sweet pastry shell with passion fruit and vanilla cream, a little bit of sponge soaked with orange and passion fruit syrup, strawberries and a few flowers and a little bit of cress.